Hey guys, this is Alex from Wilkinson Audio. Today I'm going to show you 4 cool tricks for mixing with headphones. I don't condone just mixing with headphones. It's much more difficult than mixing with a combination of headphones and other monitoring sources. But sometimes you might be in a pinch and you need to do it, or maybe headphones are all you have because you're just starting out. And here's a few ways to get kind of different perspectives on your mix while you're just using headphones. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to show our master track, because all these effects will need to go on our master bus. And theoretically, our whole mix would be down here in the project. I just have an MP3 for us to test out what this stuff's kind of doing on it. And we'll load an effects chain, and that effects chain will be headphone mixing. And hopefully I can make this available for people to download. Hang on one sec. That's just going to pop up. I'll just close that. It's not important. I'll see if I can put this up for people to download. So the first trick is you can make your headphones flatter by using an EQ that EQs out the frequency response of your headphones. And the way that I've come up with this EQ is I've looked at a series of graphs about the AKG 702's frequency response. You can just use the one off headphone.com in their Headroom Labs, and you can see their frequency response measurement. And you just take this, and anything I would say over a dB or so, just try and like counteract it with some EQ. So there's this boost that's kind of centered around about 200 hertz-ish area, and it goes and it's 3 dB. And so you just want to make an EQ that is negative 3 dB that spans around the same range. So I've done something like that in mine. It's at 250 hertz. I've looked at a few graphs, and I've done some dialing in by ear, and that's what sounded good to me and the most transparent. And then I've done the same thing for other dips, other attenuation and boosts. As you can see here, there's like that attenuation and that boost there. And they've been compensated as well with the reverse EQ to compensate for that. So we'll listen to this. Won't sound like much if you're not listening on headphones, particularly if you're not listening on 702s, because it won't make your headphones flatter. But I will just play it without this EQ and then with it. And if you're listening on 702s, that should have sounded a little bit more open and a little bit more transparent, just kind of flatter. And it does to me. So I use that sometimes. I turn it on and off throughout the mix process. You don't really have to do this if you don't want to. It's not super critical, but that's a cool trick you can use if you want to get one different perspective on your mix. So that's one trick. The next thing is I simulate various speaker systems just through EQ. This isn't as good as actually having the speaker systems there, because all you're doing is frequency domain stuff here instead of all of the different transient responses and all the other stuff that that vary, all the other variations between speaker systems that will give you perspective on your mix. But this does help. I find it helps me personally just to get a different perspective. So it's better, it's better than nothing. So I will let you hear what it sounds like through my simulations. I've looked at a bunch of NS10 graphs. I've also referenced kind of against my NS10s, and this sounds somewhat familiar to me and somewhat comparable to them. So I'll show you that now. This actually sounds a lot more like an NS10 when you have Waves NX on as well, and Waves NX is a speaker simulator, and we'll get to that in a sec here. But I'll just show you the NS10's EQ here. And next I have a hi-fi system, which is a typical Smile EQ, which is just a huge bass boost and a huge treble boost and a slight dip in the mids. So we can hear that. So the idea is you turn these on and off at various points during your mixing to get some reference. This last one's a grot box, so kind of like an Aventone mix cube kind of thing, where it just lets you hear your mid-range frequencies only, cuts out the highs and lows. Somewhat, so it makes it much easier to place vocal levels and stuff like that, and just EQ and clean up your mid-range. I'll show you what that sounds like. Okay, so that's another tip, is you can simulate other systems somewhat using just EQ. And also there is Waves NX just came out, and it just simulates speakers. So you can wear headphones, but it kind of sounds more like you have speakers, and you can adjust the position of the speakers and everything like that, and the amount of room ambience and stuff there is. I find it works pretty well, and it's very helpful for another perspective. So I'll turn that on. This won't sound like much if you're on speakers. You'll have to be wearing headphones for this to work. And even still, it has to be dialed into your head circumference and everything to have maximum effect anyway. But I'll turn it on and hopefully it'll sound like something. Okay, so that's kind of cool. And then I find that when we combine this, making our headphones EQ flatter with Waves NX, and then when we simulate the NS10s and stuff like that, it's a lot more convincing of being kind of in front of a pair of NS10s. And we'll just go through the hi-fi system in the Dropbox as well with Waves NX on. And to me, that definitely is beneficial to have those extra perspectives. It's kind of like having a few different sets of monitors to switch between. Not exactly as good, but in a pinch it'll have to do. And the fourth trick is sometimes I find it's actually very useful to quickly grab your headphones and then flip them around so that all the panning's reversed and everything like that, because that'll give you another new perspective. You get really used to hearing things a certain way. And if you can kind of just, jog that up every once in a while, just kind of mess with it, you'll really notice some things that you aren't noticing if you're always monitoring the same way. So it's kind of important to find ways to reduce ear fatigue and keep yourself, keep finding new ways to listen to the mix while you're mixing it just basically to reduce ear fatigue and hear things that you otherwise wouldn't hear. So that's 4 tips for mixing with headphones. Hopefully that's useful. And again, I'll try and put this EQ effects chain here. I'll try and put it up for download so people can just grab it and get these EQs if they want them. And my Waves NX settings are here if anyone wants to know what I use. And other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. So cool. Thanks for watching.